Off top, pterodactyls aren't dinosaurs or birds. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I'm joined, as always, by Charlie Kravitz and the king of sports media, obviously because he has a throne, the real Mike Robinson. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Foxy? What's going on with everybody, man? Hope all is well.
Oh, yeah, we all good. Happy New Year. So Mike does Good Morning Football, obviously, and the podcast, the Get Got podcast with Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch. I saw recently on your show that you showed a clip of you getting Ray Lewis in an ISO block in the hole and buckled my man. And I was just wondering if that is the play you're most proud of your NFL career. Because that's cool. I mean, I don't care. I don't care what happened before that play, after that play. He didn't slip. You caught quite possibly the best linebacker in history. You caught him in the hole, and you won.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool play. I will say it was one of my better professional plays, but I always say this. I caught Ray at the end of his career. I didn't get him in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get him when he was, half Jersey Ray just coming out of Miami. You know what I'm saying? I caught him on the back end, but I will say this. Every time I see him, he comes up to me. He gives me a big old hug. Oh, yeah. He tells me how much he loves me, this, that, and the third. And he says, but damn, I want that one play back, big dog. And, we have a good laugh about it, so it's all good.
Knock the deer antler spray on my guy.
Stop it. That was my doctor, though. Stop it. We used to say doctor. Yeah.
That's my guy. Ray is a good dude. Yeah. Whenever I see him, he give me a hug too. But he probably, I probably would have gave it to him also in the hole. He would have got
100%, all 168 pounds of you.
175. Thank you very much. I mean, if Mike could transition from quarterback to fullback, I think I could have made it. Maybe.
That's what?
Slot receiver.
Maybe. I will say this, guys. Foxy, I don't know if I ever told you this, bro, but like when we played, and I know we talked a little bit because I was trying to be the PA president and all that type of stuff, man. You were a guy that I looked at off the field and always was like, oh, that I want to be moving like that. I want to be in that type of lane. So, man, shout out to you, bro.
I appreciate you,
job,
brother.
man.
But I feel like you meant that as a compliment. But you was like, hey, I see this guy on the football field, and I want to be like him over there.
No.
I don't want to be anything like this fool inside these lines.
No.
But out there, I want to see what he doing out there. Because he ain't about he ain't about inside these lines.
You wild, bro. You wild. I didn't mean it like that, but that was funny. Good job.
Oh, yeah. We try to be entertaining. I know you ain't mean no harm.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Speaking of inside the lines, Charlie, what do you want to start with?
We can get to a bunch of there are a bunch of sort of media stories floating around, but we should start with the one good football game going into this weekend, the game that really matters, which is Vikings and Lions. And I do want to the way I look at this, this is a Week 18 matchup for the number one seed. One game sample, anything could happen, but just at this point in the season, when you look at these teams, who do you think is a better team, the Lions or the Vikings?
Yeah, I think the Lions. I mean, I'm going to go Vikings. What do you think, Mike?
I was about to say, bro, I would say the Vikings, just because of the availability of their better players. I mean, I think Detroit, if this was a full roster, I think you can make a case for Detroit. But man, Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, probably the best receiver in football, and Justin Jefferson on the outside. A defense who I believe, and our defense coordinator, who's my guy, Brian Flores. Yeah. I think I've been saying it since week 2. I think he's the assistant of the year. I just think, I just think the defense and the way that they've been able to, totally take opposing offenses away. So, on paper or right now, it's got to be the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, and he's been incredible assistant this year, but what he did last year was even more impressive with less talent. And you've given him a little bit more talent this year, it's given him some more flexibility. And the flexibility that Brian Flores has shown, I think, is what's been impressive to me is through the course of this year, they've been considered a blitz-heavy team, but in certain situations, they go heavy man. And what I'm interested about in this matchup is what he's going to do, because I don't think he's going to do that blitzing thing again, because it hasn't really worked against the Lions in particular. Like, the Lions clearly have a game plan for their blitzes where they overprotect and they trying to hit them for big shots.
Yeah.
And so I think Brian Flores knows better, and he's from the Belichick school of chameleons on defense. I'd be shocked if they come out in this game and play a bunch of zone blitz and that sort of stuff.
Well, that's interesting, because it's like, we talked about this before the Bills and the Lions game. It's like, in theory, how many stops do the Bills need to get to win the game? And it was 3. And that was the number we set it at. I think they ended up getting 3 stops. But like, Lions defense is really well coached. Aaron Glenn has been awesome. They've been able to sustain an unbelievable amount of injuries, but it seems like they're sort of at a breaking point. If you're Brian Flores and you realize that, you know the offense is probably going to have a good day, do you become slightly more conservative, knowing that you just don't want to give up drive after drive after drive?
I mean, I think they busted him over the head for some big plays last time.
Yeah.
I think the concerning thing about the big plays, or saying that you're going to be conservative and try to eliminate the big plays, is it doesn't matter if you load the box to stop the run.
Yeah.
Because we talk about this a lot on this show, is when people load the box to stop the run, that's when the big plays happen in the running game. Right.
Yep.
So, like, and you saw Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get more carries because Montgomery's out. And so that would concern me about them intentionally trying to stop the run and exposing themselves to the big plays on the ground from the Lions. Because, asking Jared Goff, asking anybody to play mistake-free football, you're asking a lot.
I will say this, though, guys. I will say this. We all know, I think Jared Goff has been phenomenal with the Detroit Lions since he's been there. But Jared will give you one of those games. Now, I think earlier this year he survived a bunch of turnovers, and the team
five in the game. They won.
They ended up winning the game. Right? But what if that happened this week? You know, what if that happens in the playoffs? I'm just not so sure without a healthy roster that they're going to be able to sustain that type of a Jared Goff day if it happens.
I wonder, so I challenge myself a little bit, because I agree with you that the Vikings are a better team, but you could say the same thing about Sam Darnold that you say about Jared Goff, as far as he's going to give it to you. And you know who's damn sure going to catch it is Kirby Joseph, who has 9 picks right now. They're going to put it up. I know they're missing Carlton Davis, but between Joseph and Branch, like, they're going to get those opportunities. So I don't know. I mean, it feels like my heart wants to give some more respect to the Lions because they continue to win despite the injuries. But I also watch the games and I recognize the Lions have one way of winning. Yeah. And I think the Vikings can win on defense. They can win on the ground, and they can absolutely win through the air. And the reason why I think I lean more to the Vikings is because you know how I feel about pass protection. I mean, the Lions not gonna get no pressure, and Sam Darnold, he's not likely to throw you one if you can't get in his face, and you give him all that time to let JJ get down the field and cause hell. So I expect the Lions to break out a bunch of screens, and they have good players if you're going to blitz. Like, Amon-Ra gets quick, gets open fast. Jahmyr Gibbs, you throw him a swing in the flat, one-on-one against, like, those are good answers to aggressive blitzes, but they're gonna have to. I mean, they have to go like they did against the 49ers. No drives without scoring.
I will say this, though, guys. I believe that Detroit needs the home field advantage more. I really do. I do. I believe Minnesota, because they're a little bit more healthy, because their offensive play caller is the head coach, and he's heavily involved in the game plan and all those things, and he's like the quarterback whisperer and all of that. I feel like if Minnesota needed to travel and play, I think they could go travel and play. I feel like if Detroit had to travel and play, I think it would be a lot tougher. So for me, if I'm in Detroit's locker room right now, I think this is their Super Bowl right now. To me, they have to get the number 1 seed. So yeah,
I do think this is the difference between them having a chance to get to the Super Bowl and not, because I think they have to go on the road. They're the 5th seed. They have to win 3 games in a row in the playoffs. That's going to be really hard to do. And that Minnesota defense can travel, but they'd be better at home too. Like the noise. Like, trying to make adjustments to address their blitzes and their simulated pressures in a noisy stadium is very different, obviously, than
how about this, though? Hey, Foxy, how much money you think Sam Darnold could make if he goes out and wins this game prime time, get him in the playoff number 1 seed? Oh, my goodness.
I
Who
love
gonna
it.
be laughing to the bank now? Oh my
I
goodness.
love it. I love it. I want to know. See, you brought up an interesting point to me. It's like how many. You were thinking the same thing, Charlie. How many millions of dollars is each win worth from this point forward for Sam Darnold? It's like 10. It's like 10 games.
Every time he outplays, like he outplayed Jordan Love significantly last week for the vast majority of that game. Jordan Love made what, $50 million off of 8 games of performance last year. And Sam Darnold's like, I'm just as physically talented as that guy. Forget those other 6 years in New York and Carolina. Like I could do this. I mean, it's crazy how quickly that changed. And also this is a situation I find fascinating. Yeah. They have JJ McCarthy, who's had 2 knee surgeries in a year. Darnold is awesome on this team. What
you come on over to my side. I've been saying since week 8, pay that damn man.
But
come on over. Come on over. Pay him what quarterbacks deserve. Pay him, because all this stuff about, well, it wouldn't have worked anywhere else. You don't need it to work anywhere else. I mean, how much would you pay for an offense that is this good? That's how much I would pay Sam Darnold.
Well, that, and can I double down on that? Like Schefter has said this. I actually kind of agree with this. That just as a prospect coming into last year, JJ McCarthy would be ahead of where Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are right now. Like, if that's true and every draft is quarterback heavy, you might be able to bring in significant draft capital that teams that are potentially getting the number 1 seed don't really get, when they're also probably getting a quarterback who's going to be less expensive than the $60 million a year guys.
Yeah. I mean, and the other point about that is, if you're going to start paying your superstars like receiver and your quarterback, you got to hit in the draft.
Yeah.
So the more draft picks you get, like to make up, you must support that those high price tags with some cheap, successful players elsewhere. So I think that's the move. And saying JJ McCarthy is ahead of these other guys, like
that's what Schefter reported.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
I don't know, and also I don't care if I'm the Vikings.
I think as long as one team thinks that, that's enough.
If I'm the Vikings, I'm sorry, JJ, you ain't get a fair chance. I ain't like having you here anyway, because we already got a JJ. We don't need 2 JJs. This is a 1 JJ roster, and we got the better JJ, so you got to go. Justin Jefferson.
I tell you this, the moment came for me, Foxy. You said it was week 8 for you. I kind of figured they were going to have some issues once you saw Sam Darnold having success. But when he walked into that locker room last week and the response he got from the team, to me, that's when the team told the entire front office, this is our dude. Don't mess this up. This is our guy. Now, do you keep McCarthy because he's on a rookie deal? I don't know. That's business that can be used later. But to me, Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings.
I mean, I was trying to think when we first saw that video and they showed the coach in the corner standing there looking all like a proud dad. Short of winning a championship, maybe winning a division, it's like the Minneapolis Miracle is the only other time I remember teams like celebrating like that, and they ain't win a damn Super Bowl. Like, that was ridiculous the way that they responded to him. It's hard to let that guy. I know this anecdotal and kind of silly way to look at it, but it's true. That stuff matters.
Yeah,
they love him, they support him, it makes him happy, and I mean, he's the leader of the team because the quarterback kind of defaults into that role.
Well, I think also too, guys. I think Sam resonates because most of your locker room. Well, Foxy, I can't speak for you, but were guys like me and you know what I'm saying, role players, guys that had to struggle, had to deal with some right? And that's what Sam Darnold did. I mean, come on, man. He was with the Carolina Panthers, you know what I'm saying, and did nothing. And so I think that response was more of the team like being excited for their guy.
We stumbled upon an old show maxim that Domonique we started this podcast. You'd always be like, quarterbacks are closer to management than they are to football players. Sam Darnold, because he's been a journeyman, gets to act like a normal football player.
That's a good one.
Nice. I learned that lesson. You talked about the union stuff. That's what I learned the lesson in negotiations when we're in the back rooms talking with players. And it just so happened that the quarterback's opinions, they skew over. Like what they And then when you in the building, the funny thing was we had some of the big name quarterbacks get involved on our side, like aggressively. And that's in part because all those guys had been through some. It took a minute. Like Breeze had his shoulder messed up, and he realized eventually quarterbacks find out They the same as us. They just let you in the house. You the same. They just let you in the house sometime, and your food is a little bit fresher. But you are one of us eventually. And
that's it.
Yeah, Breeze found out that because San Diego moved on from him. Who else was it? Brady, Breeze, and Manning, right? Yeah.
And
it happened to Manning too.
Yeah, I know it happened to Manning too, and Brady.
Yes,
happened to Brady eventually.
But then he actually became.
Yeah,
he got to just pick his own team.
Oh yeah, he owns the team now,
and
too.
owns the team.
He owns the team now too.
Vegas.
He figured it out. That man figured it out. Frederick Douglass, of quarterbacks.
Yeah, man.
I look back. Week 8, they lost to the Rams. So maybe I didn't. Maybe it was week 9 when I said.
Yeah. Said the Frederick Douglass of quarterbacks. You stupid, bro.
Oh man, great to have you on the show, Mike.
Always, man. Always, bro.
It's so funny. I was thinking just about that the throw to Jefferson, the step-up throw to win the game 2 weeks ago. I was like, that's the craziest I've ever seen. Do you want to pivot to another quarterback who's sort of actually now trying to act like management a little bit?
Let's do it.
This is the Burrow stuff, because this is I wonder what you guys think on this, because Burrow, after the season he's had with the defense, he has now said a month ago he would rework his contract to bring back T. Higgins. He has said this week, you don't have a great program if you let great players walk. Jamar Chase was screaming in the back of T. Higgins' press conference saying, pay the man, when he himself has not been paid what he wants to be paid. Yeah. We are not like T. Higgins is like, I want to play with Hall of Fame quarterbacks and Triple Crown wide receivers. After the season that Burrow and Chase had, if they are yelling this from the mountaintops, do the Bengals owe it to them to pay T. Higgins?
Do the Bengals owe it to them to pay?
I know it's tricky
organization. There's not an organization that's required to pay nobody, bro.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and those guys, and Jamar Chase, they play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you understand how the Cincinnati Bengals do business?
Reusing draw straps.
Yeah. I think Joe Burrow was like the first guy they really paid like that or something like that, right? And that was just last year or the year before that. That's in 2020. In the 2020s.
They had to break the rule that they had before where they wouldn't sell the naming rights to the stadium. They was like, man, we gotta do something.
Need this money.
We either move on to the quarterback or we sell the naming rights so we can afford to put the money in escrow to keep this quarterback. So yeah, this is a unique situation. I think the owe it to him part is like interesting, because you're saying essentially if your best two players who are having Hall of Fame seasons right now say to do something, do you have to do it?
That's exactly right. I'm now appealing to both sides of both of you on this, where there's the business side of it that you guys know, and then the player side where it's like,
this still capitalism, right? Yeah, guys? This still capitalism, right? I mean, hey, look, you might not agree with the isms, but that's what it is. Cheap labor, baby.
Yeah, what it comes down to, I think, is what you have to do, and this reminds me of like basketball conversations that we used to have, and when people would bash LeBron for like the rosters that they said he built, and if he would step out and make a decision, we would absolve the general manager of the decision because he say LeBron made the decision. My point is, part of your job as a general manager is to construct a team in your vision, and if part of that constructing team in your vision is selling the vision to your quarterback or to your star player, or convincing them that their idea is actually your idea is actually their idea, then that's the damn job.
That's the job.
You don't get to call yourself the general manager and then be like, oh, my hands were tied, I had to do it. And so like in this case, I would say that the Bengals don't have to. You need to sell the vision that you have, and maybe the vision that you have is to have T. Higgins and Chase on opposite sides of Burrow. Ain't a bad vision. It's a lot of money. You may never have a running attack.
Never.
Yeah, which is fine if you can throw the ball like this. But yeah, if your vision includes you moving on from T. Higgins, and you believe that's a better version of this team going forward, then you need to express that to Joe Burrow and try to get him to pipe down. But yeah, Joe Burrow don't seem like the type to pipe down. You got to convince him that it's a good idea.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow said he said the coldest last week. Did you see this where he said when they asked him about his MVP candidacy, and he was like, nah, I think what he said was like, you normally got to win a division to get that, but I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, I'll get one day.
Well, come on, man. He know he cold.
I know.
He cold, man.
I just love it. He's the same one who said the window open long as I'm here.
Yep, that's
that
right.
boy, man.
That's how, but that's how I want my quarterback, bro. I don't want you to be, when everything going right, that's how your attitude is. No, when we're down in the dumps, I need that confidence. I need you to bring us all up. And Joe Burrow, he's a force multiplier ultimately.
So often I think we use like these soft skills to explain players, and I like dismiss them because I think it's kind of stupid.
Yes,
most of the time. But sometimes some guys got some special something where you just like, you drop them in the locker room and it changes. And Joe Burrow, I think, is a one-man culture setter. And to your point, I guess, this is why. Because you know what you don't want? You don't want that guy pissed. You don't want that guy in your building and mad. So
hell no. I thought it was cold that year they went to the Super Bowl, right? And they won all them awards or whatever. I thought it was cool how they accepted the awards on screen. They was all just kind of sitting at round tables, no smiling, no nothing. Like, I'm supposed to win this. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, Joe Burrow cold, man.
Damn, Aaron Donald took his Super Bowl, though. He took that thing right out your hands.
Also cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, the Burrow stuff is there. It is amazing. Like, we do have the media cycle where we think someone's cool and then we get sick of them and then we decide that everything about them is not cool. And we do that over and over and over again. It usually happens to NBA players, but happens to quarterbacks also. I don't think that's going to happen with Burrow.
Yeah, it hasn't.
I just don't see it.
Not with him pulling up in a Batmobile.
Do you think there's any part of this season though, if you were like a GM for this team, where you're like, yeah, this offense was awesome. It's like one of the most explosive offenses in football, but part of it's they had to keep their foot on the gas pedal all year because it was sort of like a Big 12 team where they're going to give up 40 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the raw numbers, the counting stats is one thing. But the point is, they were capable of doing what they needed to do in that situation. Yeah. And in some of the worst situations that anybody faced this season, they were able to have success. So, like, nothing about this season would make me feel like this was a mirage or anything like that, or it's not something you can replicate. And to your point about this talent, the reason why you would be comfortable with this is, like, they don't be scheming. Like, of the teams in the league that have, like, impressive offenses, I'd say this is the most, like, rudimentary. They just go out there and let it cook. And I mean, we ain't got a game plan this week. Run the same we ran last week.
7-on-7. We running 7-on-7. We just doing a bunch of one-on-ones out here. My guys gonna beat your guys. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is, man.
And I mean, that's something that you made that be hard pressed to want to move on from and change. I suspect that you probably can find another receiver in the draft and try to replicate it, but you got it going now. So I don't know what the right answer is, because we talk about doubling down on what you're good at sometimes, which is like what the Ravens did by going in. The Ravens and the Eagles, like, we're good running the ball.
But Fox, was Jesse Bates that important to the damn defense? Oh my goodness! Since he walked out the door, the defense can't stop a nosebleed, bro. Like, that's a big problem there too.
Yeah, whatever he took away from the defense, he didn't bring it all the way down to Atlanta.
No,
but apparently he can't replicate it everywhere. But yeah, the defense is a shambles. They're gonna need to figure something out. I do remember when we thought that D coordinator was gonna get a job somewhere. Anaromo. He gonna still be there in Cincinnati, I think, for a few years to come. But they're gonna have to find some players to fix that problem there.
Can I pivot to another like rumor thing that's sort of going around? It's a story I actually think is like fascinating, but I don't know like the validity of it. And so Graziano and Jeremy Fowler both wrote about Ben Johnson's future. Last year, he's rumored to be Washington's top choice. Washington got on the plane to fly to hire Ben Johnson. He called them when they were in the air and said no. And then it was reported that it was because they were basketball guys. And I'm a Washington fan, so I'm biased, but that decision probably doesn't seem as great now that they have Jaden Daniels and Adam Peters in the building, and there are things that have worked out this way. He has since coached a historically good run for Detroit football, and we look at his plays every week, whether it's the Stumble Ruski or X, Y, and Z, and we're like, this guy's awesome. He's going to be a future head coach. He's being rumored to be one of the top choices to be Caleb Williams' steward in Chicago. It is also being counter-rumored that Ryan Poles prefers Brian Flores. Ben Johnson ends up in an interesting situation, though, because he could enter a Josh McDaniels zone where it's like, okay, you're the picky guy if you turn it down once. It becomes weird if you like multiple times start turning down NFL jobs. How do you think this goes? Do you think Ben Johnson's the right type of fit in Chicago? Where do you think this goes with his?
So I think the interesting thing about these, so the jobs are never going to be perfect. They aren't hiring you into a situation because it's good and it don't need no changing. So you're going to have to take a bad job. And I think the bad job that he probably should have taken was, I mean, now with hindsight, because I don't think we thought that at the time, should have been Washington. And we also, I think, looking at the Bears situation, think is a pretty good roster. But what I've come to realize about these guys, these high-profile, like bell of the ball type offensive coordinators that come up every couple of years, who, I mean, no disrespect to Ben Johnson, I'm not saying it's going to happen to him, but they often also fail at head coaching. But they have the leverage to make a perfect situation. And while I would criticize them for their decision-making sometimes, I understand the point that you don't have that many chances. You might get one, you might get a second chance. And it's about control. I think it's less about roster construction. It's less about the quarterback that's in the building. And it's more about how much control and influence will you have, which I get it. You essentially want to be like, all right, the future of my career is dependent on the players that I get. And let me pick my GM. Don't bring me in and tell me to be a part of someone else's vision. Let me come in and tell someone else what my vision is. And I think that would be the concerning part about any job, whether it was Washington or whether it's the Bears or anything. Is like, do I get to hire the decision makers? Am I the actual decision maker?
I agree with you, Fox. I will also say this. To me, Chicago's interesting because I think on paper, for Ben Johnson, I think is a great I think it's a decent opportunity. I ain't gonna say great, but a decent opportunity, because you're right, there's no perfect jobs. But I mean, through the history of this organization, they haven't drafted and developed quarterbacks. Like, not one 4,000-yard passer. Not one. I think they've been around 100 years or close to it. Not one that you've drafted and developed into a high-quality type of a quarterback. So I would have some questions going in Chicago. And to your point, going in, I would want to know, how big is my voice? Right. Because if I don't have no voice and I'm just a head coach, just in title, right, but the shots are being called by somebody else, I don't think that's a good job. But if you do go to Chicago, to me, the first thing that Ben Johnson should do is get a veteran coach in there to kind of help him kind of organize everything. I talked to Mike McDonald. He's the head coach in Seattle, new head coach in Seattle. And I do their preseason games. And one thing I thought he did a great job was when he filled his staff, the first person he hired was Leslie Frazier. Now, Leslie Frazier's been a head coach. He's been around in the league for a long time. He's coached defenses. He's been around. He's seen things. And he leans on Leslie for not just in-game situations that, you know, as a defensive play caller, you haven't even experienced sometimes from a head coaching perspective, but just organizing the week, organizing the year, organizing, you know, doing things that head coaches do. So I think if Ben Johnson does do that, first and foremost, understand what your genius is. His genius is calling plays offensively. Do that. I would do that. You see what I'm saying? And then get somebody else veteran in there to kind of help you with the organization of just being a head coach. I think sometimes young head coaches, they lose because they don't understand the whole process of running a team.
They focus on the things that they've always been focused on. And I actually talked to Mike Tannenbaum last week, who was who's helping the Jets with their hire, and that was he brought up Leslie Frazier as an example because, like, the interpersonal stuff, just in the building, talking to people, players feel more. And I mean, I'm not gonna put these words in your mouth. These are things that I heard, that players felt very comfortable talking to Leslie Frazier in a way that they didn't feel necessary. Not that they were uncomfortable, but like, Mike McDonald is a lock myself in the office, let me draw up some plays guy, which is an entirely different job than it requires to be able to be in contact with everybody in the building. So I think that's those interpersonal interactions are incredibly important to leadership on any level, especially in a football locker room. I
mean, McVay did that too. McVay, first job, he's like, give me Wade Phillips. Have him be like, just run the defense. I don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
And like he's done that since. He's hired high profile defensive coordinators over and over again. Raheem Morris,
right?
And it's like, let's have this run effectively, so I don't think I'm a boy genius who can run the defense also.
Right. Well, Raheem Morris right now is, I mean, they didn't have him doing late game situations and timeouts.
Oh, my goodness. He blew. Oh, my.
I just don't get why you don't. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to get into that, but I had a long conversation with Jeff Saturday about his head coaching experience, and he was like, there's somebody in your ear. So maybe Raheem has a different situation there, but it's not your job as a head coach to be.
Those are the toughest because if you play Madden, you get the timeouts right, and those are the ones where it's like, no, but like, it's like normally it's like I couldn't be an NFL. I know how to call the timeouts because you play enough Madden. You're like, I got to save him for these possessions. I got to call him with 40 seconds left.
But in that situation with Atlanta, I mean, I know we ain't gonna go into it. Like, to me, that was common sense.
Yeah.
You had two of them.
Two of them.
Call it a timeout, bro.
What you saving them for? You don't get no.
You
don't
can't
get to
carry
turn
it
them
over.
in.
Yeah.
You don't get to turn them in.
Just call the timeout. You know what I mean? So I hate that for Raheem because I think he's an excellent head coach and leader, man. So yeah,
Raheem will be good. The last thing I'll touch on is you mentioned how McVay brought someone in to focus on the defense. I will say that, like, speaking of this, and maybe we'll do this in the offseason at some point when all the coach hires start happening, is talk about all the different facets of what it means to be a head coach. Because the other thing that McVay was really good at, while he didn't want to touch defense, he's hella personal, like personable. Like everyone talked. There was like. He felt like he made the team feel like it was theirs. And it was like, and that's something that, like, not all coaches are built for. Like, Shanahan. Shanahan is known to be like, hey, he don't want to be your friend. He don't want to talk to you. He want to talk ball. And that's not all. Being a leader is also about the relationship.
That was like all of the stories of Kyle Shanahan were like him at the beginning not knowing how to interact like a human being with players. Like Matt LaFleur was the interactor with Matt Ryan to make it work in Atlanta in the second year. There was the story that he even after Peyton Manning decided to sign with the Broncos, when he was with Washington, they wanted to sign him, and he still met with Peyton Manning just to discuss X's and O's. It was like that was the closest like Kyle Shanahan found to happiness during a free agency meeting.
Kyle is crazy. I tell you one thing, but once he knows you know ball, he don't shut up. Every time
about ball.
About ball.
That's what to say.
About ball. It's all ball, bro.
Yeah. Some people might want you to say, "Good morning. How was your summer?"
No.
No.
You talk about this outside inside zone, baby. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Where this double team at? You know what I mean? That's it.
That's always interesting to me that we don't. Football is so different because they're like 1,000 cogs in this machine.
Yeah.
And then the result happens and we're like, hey, he did it. And like, to your point, like the LaFleur relationship is something that we didn't really know about when he was there. We were just like, hey, that guy's awesome. And the same thing with Ben Johnson right now is like, we give him all the credit for their trick plays, but he has a little trick play brain trust of other coaches whose responsibilities it is to draw up trick plays for him. So it's just funny because we end up giving the credit to certain guys in leadership positions, but we don't really know what goes into the success.
Foxy, we don't know. I do college for NBC on weekends, but I call some games, and you'll talk to these defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators or whatever, and they're talking about their scheme, and then next thing you know, they'll say, "But my GA, bro, I got 2 or 3 GAs.
Yeah,
they the ones who actually came. They the ones who actually built everything. I'm just the one calling it. You know what I'm like, damn, bro. But it takes a whole team of people to make Sundays happen.
And the Lions are interesting because they also have, Aaron Glenn's an incredible defensive coordinator, and Dan Campbell. You want to talk about the leader of men aspect of get everyone riled up in the locker room, and Aaron Glenn. We saw that in Hard Knocks that he was like awesome at that stuff. One other story going into the weekend that's been probably talked about a little bit too much, but I think there's an interesting hypothetical here. The Eagles announced that Saquon's not going to play. He's not going to go for the record. He got the 2,000 yards in 16 games.
I hate it. Give my man a quarter, and give him a quarter and see how things stand at the end of the quarter. I'm sorry, I don't want to sidetrack you because I know we're going a different way with the conversation.
No, please, because that's interesting. Because like Lane Johnson, Lane Johnson was like, we got him 2K. Who cares? And so you guys think differently on that.
Who cares? There have been since 1950. There have been 3 people to hold this record. He will hold this record forever because we ain't building backs like that no more.
No.
It's a very important record. I get it that you feel like it lowers your chances of winning a Super Bowl, but I also want to be great. It's not a binary. We can have both.
I agree with you, Fox, and I'll say this too. Just if I'm Nick Sirianni, and I get it, you want to save, you want to make sure your guys are right, and I get all of that, but you don't have there's no, you ain't gonna get a bye. You're gonna play all of that. This is a one in a lifetime type of a record. I think Saquon wanted it. I can just hear him in the way he, one in a lifetime. Put your name in the record books forever. Number one. Number two, I don't know, because there's only 47 guys playing. Some of your starters gonna play anyway, bro.
Yeah.
The rosters aren't big enough for you to just rest everybody. That's number two. Number three, I think the passing offense needs some work. Like, they really need work. Like, I you know what I'm saying? I know Jalen Hurts is still in the concussion program, but protocol and all of that. But there's aspects of this team that needs work. That's why I got a lot of respect and admiration for Dan Campbell and what they did last week. They didn't have to play that game like that. They went out there. He said, "You know what? We're in it. We gotta play to play."
This goes to, like, we always talk about culture and culture on teams, and we're going to hear all these coaches get hired in a couple months, and they're going to be like, I'm here to change the culture. They don't have no damn clue what they're talking about. Because I would say the Dan Campbell thing is an example that all these tiny little artifacts that you have around your program are what influence your culture. And you cannot be in that situation. And I can't say you can't. I would say that it has an impact. Every decision you make has an impact on your culture. Dan Campbell is not messing around. He is not messing around with touching this formula. You know who we are? We the type of people that you give us a football game, we're gonna try to win it. That's what we
play
are.
It. That's what we do.
Yeah, we not the Poindexters pushing our glasses up on our nose and talking about, what the probability of injury and I fall into that category more often than I would like to be honest about. However, Dan Campbell don't. And the people around Dan Campbell will not either, because he won't allow it. And I think the Sirianni situation is slightly different. And obviously,
You think?
the Chiefs is different. No, it's a game that doesn't matter. But
I did like standing in a locker room.
Oh yeah. No, I mean the decision making, not them as compared to each other. But as we've been talking, I feel like the theme of the show has been a lot about coaches and different kinds of coaches, and it feels like this may not even be a Sirianni decision. Like, Sirianni feels like one of these coaches who is a cog in Howie Roseman's vision.
I'm not sure it's a Howie Roseman decision. They said it was a Jeffrey Lurie decision partially.
Okay,
that's what was reported on it. Yeah.
Well, in that case, you don't have no say.
Yeah, you don't have no say.
Everybody sit the hell down and put your visor on backwards.
But don't you think that's probably something where they pushed up and they're like, "Can you just take the heat for this? You on the team? We don't have to be the one to tell Saquon he's not playing."
Maybe that works out fine. But yeah, I'm disappointed.
I think it goes, Fox. I think, to your point, I played in the box. You played on the outside.
Yep.
Right. I'm in the box. Dan Campbell, tight end, he's in the box.
Yeah, right.
I remember later on in the season,
towards disrespect.
No, it ain't no disrespect. It's just different environments, bro. Different environments. It's different environments.
I was in the suburbs. You're right. I wasn't in there.
I'm in the hood, baby.
I'm in the hood. I was on the outskirts.
It's a liquor store down the street. No. Right there. I can walk to it. You know what I'm saying?
We had strip malls and department stores.
Yeah, exactly.
Grocery stores.
Okay, Clarence.
So we're in the box, and like, I remember when I played, even late in the season, I used to tell Pete would come to the leaders and say, "Hey, do we need to have pads on?" And all the guys on the outside is like, "Hey, man, we good. We don't need pads, whatever." But it would be guys like myself, Max Unger, our center, our left tackle, Russell Okung. We'd be like, "Well, yeah, I get the rest part, but I need to feel contact to get me ready." I was the only fullback on our team. I need to feel contact. That's the only way we're going to get ready. And you look at Detroit and Philly, for that matter, I think they got 1 and 2, the top 2 offensive line blocking units in all of football. To keep those guys going, they got to play. I'm just saying, man.
Yeah. I mean, that you're unusual even for, and maybe your team was unusual even for interior players, because I think towards the end of the season, those players often want to get out the pads
too.
Do. Because they're like, I'm doing this all Sundays. Like, why I got to do it on Wednesday and Thursday too?
You're right, Fox, but we ended up getting a bye
right
in that first round.
No,
and I remember that week, Oh, bro, we had to get after it.
Yeah.
We had to because we knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. Football players play, bro. You know what I mean?
To be clear though, I played nickel the first couple of years.
You had a couple run fits.
I got a little bit in the box.
You got cracked a few times.
I played safety. I played safety in like 4 games when Nick Ferguson got hurt. When
Look.
Hey, hold on. Let me tell you this. So I had to play safety on certain downs and nickel not nickel. I had to play safety on certain downs and nickel on some downs and outside on other downs. This is how ridiculous it was. In that game, those games where I had to do it, I had 2 jerseys with 2 sets of shoulder pads on the sideline. And I was like, what series we doing? Because I ain't going out here. I'm not taking my cornerback shoulder pads into the box. Hell wrong with y'all. I'm not.
That's a whole different ball game, baby.
So you think I'm going to the city with a box cutter? No. You got to bring the hammer when you go downtown.
Yeah. The other hammer. You know what I'm talking about? The hammer. You feel me? Yeah.
I don't miss those days. But hey, you said earlier that the type of locker room is guys like you that got it out the mud. I was a 3rd round draft pick who was playing 175 in the box. Whew.
Oh,
it got muddy down there.
Yeah, I'm about to say you was in the mud too. You know what time it is.
I was drowning in that mud. So happy to sit here across from Charlie now.
It's all good, man. Safer on this side.
So we gonna get Marshawn in the Hall of Fame. What's the deal?
So look, right. So I asked him this a while ago, and I'm like, Beast, what's up, man? He's like, bro, if I don't get in on the first go, they could miss me with that. I said, what you mean? I ain't never going if they don't give it to me on the first time I'm up. So message Hall of Fame voters. You know what I'm saying? Message.
Don't play with my man.
Don't mess up. He basically got 2 Super Bowls. The last one, that one on him. That one on him.
Nah.
Hey, we're gonna do a pod. We're gonna do a pod with the whole Seattle on that too, bro. You don't want to miss it because there's some people that can't go to sleep at night because of that second Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah.
It's some real issues, bro.
I can't wait. That is a hell of a tease.
That sounds sick.
Yeah.
No, like people gonna get after each other. I got a feeling. So stay tuned.
Nah, Marshawn is one of those special running backs that we don't see in the league, I think, anymore. And Saquon and Derrick Henry are in that mold to some degree, where and not even. I mean, Marshawn, you build an offense around. And Saquon,
Derrick Henry for sure too.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Well, Saquon, I guess their offense has changed some, but their offense was good. But anyway, I digress a little bit. One of the things, speaking of the Hall of Fame, that I thought was interesting, that I know I get a little bit of pushback on. Another reason why Saquon should go for it is, I think it doesn't put him in the Hall of Fame. I think currently his career is probably not gonna get him in the Hall of Fame. He breaks this record. I think it then becomes a possibility, and if he doesn't, I think it's really unlikely unless he pulls a Terrell Davis. They go back-to-back Super Bowl runs and he just goes nuts in the playoffs.
That's what I was about to say. What if he don't get the record, but Philly wins a Super Bowl this year?
Yeah. It depends on how he go. If he go for 150 a game all the way through the Super Bowl, then we have something to talk about.
Yeah, he going in that thing. First thing, he going in.
This is the most interesting thing though, because we for a while we're like, this is going to be like 300 game winning pitchers. Like we're not going to get more Hall of Fame running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to ask y'all this. How does Joe Shane survive Hard Knocks and Saquon's season? How will he ever survive that? Because, guys, look, I got some issues because I'm sitting there looking at Hard Knocks, and I know some of the producers or whatever, and I'm texting them like, bruh, this is awesome. How are they allowing y'all to film this? They letting all the secrets out, bruh. I'm like, bruh. Every time Joe Shane got on the phone, he was by his desk, and it looked like there was a stop button. I don't know. I don't know. But it looked like it was a stop button. But for us to hear all of that, man, and then Saquon had his season, the owner, I would hate for him to go to the team in the division. He goes to the team in the division. I mean, I don't know how he survives, bro.
If only he could break the record in front of their faces this weekend, it'd be so much better. Yeah, I don't know, because you can argue, you can defend Dayball because he was handed a quarterback that he made the best out of, and But you really can't defend Joe Shane for the way that he's failed to build an effective team, offensive line, year in, year out. Like, I don't understand the defense. And then he had the nerve to embarrass you by being on Hard Knocks like that.
Even his staff was like, you sure, bro? Like, you sure you want to let Saquon's the guy? You sure? Man, I ain't paying no 27-year-old back $12 million. Well, Philly did. And look at Philly. I hope this season isn't used as an argument to not pay Saquon.
Yeah.
Based off the usage and because that's what they do to backs. Mm-hmm. We have great years and they say, oh, but you took 300 hits though. but what? I'm the generational guy. You wouldn't have been in your position without me. Derrick Henry, the same type of way. Like, he didn't get his money, but Baltimore, I hope Baltimore and Derrick Henry, I hope Derrick Henry has the name cachet so that Todd Monken actually runs the ball in the playoffs. Because if they don't do that, they're going to lose again.
Look at San Francisco's offense without McCaffrey.
Yeah. Yes.
There's your value proposition.
Pay him whatever you want.
No, I mean, there's always going to be GMs who do take the lowest hanging fruit and they're like, well, if we're a good team, we'll pay the running back because that's what's going to put us over the top. And we have the offensive line to support it, even though that's sort of regressive thinking of being like, well, we should take him because it's a good contract and it's a good player.
Right.
But I digress. That's the thing.
Generational back in Saquon, bro. I don't know how they let that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, this also just shows if he'd been playing in a real organization, a serious outfit for his entire career, the numbers he would have put up would be astronomical.
Yeah,
my goodness.
Which is why head coaches are very picky about their situation.
Yes.
Because there's so few things that you control in your destiny. And like Jahmyr Gibbs now.
Versus Bijan. That could have been Bijan.
Yeah, it could have been Bijan. They had a chance, but they decided not to. But I guess it's hard to prove a negative when we haven't seen it.
It's crazy. I believe Ezekiel Elliott and big guy at LSU used to be for Jacksonville. He's not
Fournette.
Yeah. Didn't they? I think they were in the same draft or close or right after each other.
They were close. Yeah, they
were very close or whatever. And I remember a Hall of Fame back telling me after they both got drafted, he said, Mike, it's crazy. We wouldn't be talking about Zeke this way if he had went to Jacksonville.
Yep.
If Fournette had went to Dallas, we'd be talking about Fournette.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just crazy how to your point, man, your situations tell it all.
Oh yeah, I still owe Matt Ryan a couple $1 million, man. I got traded my final year of my contract, my rookie deal. I got traded to Atlanta, and they had a rookie quarterback, and I was depressed. That's when I first started looking at business schools. I was like, hey, we gonna stink, and nobody gonna care about us, but Matt got us to the playoffs, boy. Got me that check. I wanna end with this though. How lucky are your Penn State Nittany Lions right now, and what are the chances they actually win the title?
College football playoff. Thank you.
We
got a participation trophy, baby. We in the mix. You expand the field, and now we're in. I love it. We lost in the Big Ten championship, and because we lost, we get the easier path to the championship. Oh, college football playoff. Great job. Great job. We beat up on SMU. We just beat up on Boise State. I thought our defense did a great job against Ashton Genty, who's the best back in all of college football. But I will say this. I'm happy that Penn State's where they're at. But now is when the difference, from in the next level in the championship, now the rosters are going to be pretty similar. You're going to have a similar 5-star guys, 4-star guys, whatever. All of these teams pay their players. Coaching is going to become paramount.
Yeah.
Coaching, in-game decisions. I ain't saying a CEO. I'm saying a ball coach.
Yeah.
And, our guy has to awaken to that and make sure he's the right guy in those moments.
That's diplomatic. I like that.
Thank you, Fox. You noticed it.
My man James gonna pull it off.
Yeah, we're all rooting for James.
Figure it out, James.
Come on,
James. Pull it out.
You got a Vandy guy, a Maryland guy, and a Penn State guy. This is the James Franklin triumvirate.
Come on,
right
James.
That's true, yeah.
Come on, James.
Frank recruited me to Maryland, and he used Charlie School as a stepping stone to a real football program.
He also laughed at me for not being able to jump very high when someone threw a football over my head on a lawn outside of Vandy.
Who's
the credit card under your feet?
Of the 5 teams that are left as we're having this conversation, who do you think is going to pull it out?
I said Penn State's going to win.
Okay.
I
Let's say
that.
hypothetically, if Penn State does not win, who you got?
If Penn State does not win, it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
I thought even in the first Oregon game, Ohio State was better. I was on the field. I was seeing the players, and that Autzen Stadium in Oregon crowd and environment beat Ohio State. But if Ohio State play like we seen them in the last 2 weeks, bro, they ain't a damn team in college football that's gonna come close to them.
I mean, I hate to compare anyone to Julio Jones. Jeremiah Smith is like,
he's the 10th best receiver in the NFL right now. Right now. And he got 2 more years before he come out. Right now.
I sometimes rail against how we've gotten professional sports have gotten younger and younger. But if it's producing 6'4" lightning bolts like Jeremiah Smith, oh gosh, he looks so good in that game.
Foxy. I do youth football here in Virginia. I'm the AAU governor here in Virginia, so we got about 5,000-6,000 families under our umbrella. We do fall and we do spring. Bro, I love youth football because you can see these athletes before they get to high school, dude, and the game is in excellent hands. Let's just say that. Some of these catches on some of these parks, some of these throws, these young kids are getting so many reps doing so many disciplines. We thought about doing it. We was outside, but we was climbing trees and you know what I'm saying? Like, these guys doing full 7-on-7s at 11. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness.
I didn't know what 7-on-7 was until like my junior year of high school.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week because there was Declan, your son. Your Ashley posted clips of him playing at halftime of the Commanders game, and I was like, your 11-year-old flag football team runs a more advanced offense than our high school team, which just ran 36 belly over and over and over again.
These kids are getting exposed to it, man.
They are, man.
Anyway, well, thank you so much. This was awesome. Hopefully we can do it again sometimes. I will make sure that everyone who listens to our show will subscribe to your show so they can especially catch that Seattle episode. And I hope we do it again soon. All right, brother.
No doubt, man. Always.
Thank you too, Charlie, and thanks to all the great producers. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.